month away from the release of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic Park is one of my absolute favorite movies. I think Jurassic World is an absolute blast, and who doesn't love a movie about dinosaurs eating people? So I decided I'd do a series where I'm going to re-review all of the Jurassic Park movies leading up to Fallen Kingdom. I guess we'll call it Journey to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or something like that. Whatever I put in the title, I guess that's what my official title will be. Now, in these reviews, I'm assuming you've seen the movies, and if you haven't, stop on this video, go get Jurassic Park, go watch Jurassic Park, and then come join the conversation with me. With that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Go ahead and tell me down below in the comment section down below. What do you think about Jurassic Park? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it overrated? Are you a little bit younger and you kind of weren't there to see it in the theaters and just seems like, what's the big deal about this movie? Let me know all that fun stuff. I'd love to know your take on this movie. So this will work like most of my normal reviews. I'm going to kick it off with the good, talk about the bad. I don't have any mixed on this one. And then at the end of this, however, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the differences between the movie and the book. Not a ton of time, not a full analysis, but just so you get an idea of it if you haven't read the book and get a nice discussion for the people that have done so. Also, one final thing before I get started, I'm not going to use a lot of pictures or video clips in this particular review because the movie was put out by Universal and they're kind of infamous for frivolous copyright claims on videos, even if they're not using a ton of clips. And so for that reason, I'm not going to use a bunch because I don't want to get a bunch of copyright issues with Universal over this review. Very sorry for that. I much prefer to be able to put visuals up on the screen while doing this and not have some jump cuts in there. With that said, let's get started talking about the good. And the absolute best thing about this movie for me is that it takes us away to a world of dinosaurs better than probably any other movie that I have ever seen. And there's a lot of elements to that. First off, just the inherent nature of the story about going to a park filled with dinosaurs that's kind of like a zoo for dinosaurs. It has that sense of we're going there and seeing them. And you're going there with dinosaur experts who are just in awe, and you can experience that with them as they see these dinosaurs. And it's very much helped by John Williams' score. And it has such a sense of awe and wonder to it. I think about that scene where Grant pulls up in that Jeep and first sees dinosaurs and Ellie's looked down at a leaf and something like that. And you just see his reaction and pulling down his glasses as he just realizes there's dinosaurs here. And John Williams' score as it kind of plays into it and turns the head. I mean, it's true movie magic what they were able to do in this scene, how well it was directed, how well the special effects look and hold up 25 years later, and all brought together by John Williams' score on that. And that's kind of the way the whole movie works, with this reverence and love for dinosaurs while being terrified of them at the same time. And another reason why it's able to transport us to this world of dinosaurs is the simple fact that they did an excellent job of doing what they could with the special effects that they had. And for that reason, there's so much in this that holds up better than movies that came out 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's 25 years old, but they hold up because they didn't go all out CGI. They didn't go all out 1980s and 70s, big gigantic T-Rex head kind of being pulled in. They mixed both of them and they looked at each shot and they went, what can we do here? What will look best here? They looked into animatronics, they looked at all kinds of things, and they looked for what is the best thing that we can do right now for each of these shots. And they blended it all together so nicely. So you have a movie that holds up really well and feels visceral at times, doesn't feel like people standing in front of green screens as CGI monsters run around them. It doesn't look like CGI monsters jumping out of water. Even some of the stuff in Jurassic World from just a few years ago, there's some shoddy CGI in it, and people immediately went, why does this CGI in a movie that came out over 20 years ago look better than the CGI in this? And so for that reason, this one is able to just take you back in time to this place. Even a little bit of nugget on there, when they were starting to do the production on it, they explored stop motion, as I mentioned before, and they'd done tests and everything on it. And then someone said, I think that we can do some of this CGI. And they had a guy run a little test on the sequence where they're running through the field and the dinosaurs start flocking all around them. And they show it to the whole crew, like, we're going to make a decision. Are we going to go CGI? Are we going to go stop motion? What do we think we can do here? And the stop motion guy saw it and he went, looks like I'm out of business. And that was true. They pulled it off, and that was the direction that the entire industry went afterwards. Second thing that's absolutely amazing about this movie is that it makes you believe that dinosaurs could come back. And what I mean by that is that it's not just kind of a bunch of mumbo jumbo and there's dinosaurs there. The movie has so much science in it and wants to make sure it's explaining how there's how are they getting dinosaurs? Okay, well, you're cloning them. Okay, where are you getting dinosaur DNA? Well, you find you have this. It has this whole idea about mosquitoes getting little blood drops from dinosaurs and then getting sucked into amber, and you hear that and you go, well, that's weirdly plausible. That could work. That's interesting. And so it has that. And then there's, I don't know if it's as prominent in the movie, but also ground up dinosaur bones. They can get some out of that. So all these little places where they get it and they talk about what would be incomplete dinosaur, what there'd be issues with. And they talk about how they're mixing things together and they explain the whole thing. There's even they know that would be the question when it would, in the movie, they know that would be the question at the park. And so there's this whole sequence designed so well to explain how all of this is happening. And you don't normally think about Jurassic Park as a sci-fi movie, but sci-fi movies deal with technology, future possibilities. And while it's not in space, it's not set off in the future, it's dealing with technologies, future possibilities. And there's very much a sci-fi element to this idea of bringing dinosaurs back and cloning them. And exploring the ideas of that with bringing in kind of Malcolm with the worldview about, talking about the chaos theory and how things fall apart in complex systems. So very much exploring it and making you think, could this happen? What would happen if they did this? Could you control it? All of that makes for just intriguing cinema, stuff that makes you think while being very exciting throughout the entire film. And we'll dive into the ideas of it very soon. But one of the other things that makes this movie great, it has an amazing set of characters. And what makes the characters so great is that each of them have a different personality that's interesting, fun to be around or very annoying to be around, but in a way that you like to watch them annoy the people around them. But they represent a different way that people would perceive if dinosaurs were brought back to life. Just these different worldviews, responses, backgrounds. And so you kind of go into it. Grant, our dinosaur expert, he loves dinosaurs. Doesn't love kids so much, but he loves dinosaurs. And so him seeing them, this would be a dream come true. This is I'm finally seeing these things that I've dedicated my life to. But then to the question of, should we have a park where we contain them? As much as he loves seeing dinosaurs, he looks at it and he goes, we're separated for a long time for a reason, and I don't think that this can work. Then you go to Ian Malcolm, of course, with this kind of over-the-top personality that you can see where this character would come off very bland if it wasn't Jeff Goldblum, but Jeff Goldblum with all those Jeff Goldblumisms and plus all this chaos theory ideas about everything, you put it all together and this is easily the most quotable character in this entire movie. And some of that's just Jeff Goldblum where he's like, well, there it is. Doing stuff like that. Remind me to thank Hammond for a wonderful, or remind me to thank John for a wonderful weekend. There's all the little notes and there's sarcasm and everything that just make him so wonderful. But as a character who believes in chaos theory, complex systems fall apart, simple systems can turn very complex, and just this worldview of how everything works and exploring it, you throw him into this mix of this situation. And he has all these insights, perspectives on things, and you're just building off the science of other people. You didn't earn it. You didn't invent cloning, so you didn't do all the lab work to get there. You saw that they did it, took that, and just took one more step on top of it. So you don't respect what you're doing. You just saw, can we do it? You didn't stop to think, should. All these great, once again, quotable little moments from him. And you it's not that Grant and Malcolm have the same perspective, but they have the same conclusion. You put the two together, and it's very interesting to look at. Then you talk about Hammond, this character that's so optimistic. He wants to create something that's real, that thrills people, and he's so blinded by the desire to do that he ignores all the insanity that goes along with, even as things are falling apart, he's looking around going, no, hiring Nedry, that was a problem. We'll get it right next time. We'll get it right next time. And it takes him so long to figure out, no, the idea of this does not work. The idea of controlling dinosaurs, bringing back something from 65 million years ago does not work. Talk about the lawyer Gennaro, that's all about money and things like that. And you throw him to the mix. What does he see when he sees this park, even though he's the guy that's sent there to make sure it's safe? He looks out and he sees money. That's what he sees. Like, we're going to make so much money from this. And that's all he can see is the greatest theme park of all time as the guy that's kind of about money and representing people. That's the entire thing he sees by it. If you're talking about Dennis Nedry, that is just totally unfair. Like, he is not, he has no reverence for it. He's just so self-absorbed with his own frustrations and, oh, how can I make money? He like thinks he can drive through the park with the fences down. He's just no concern, no healthy fear of what's going on. So self-absorbed, and because of his lack of concern, his narcissism, his selfishness, some bad things happen in the movie. But you put them all together and you just get this wonderful picture of everything going on, the different ways you would perceive this park. And because of that, the whole movie's thrilling, exciting, beginning to end. But you can forget that the park doesn't start to fall apart until about an hour into the movie. And the movie's only about 2 hours long. So half the movie's what we think about with Jurassic Park was, oh no, the dinosaurs are running wild. The first half is people looking at dinosaurs and talking about them. That's not interesting unless you've got great characters with great dialogue and interesting perspectives that where you set them up to be the opposite sometimes. You'd think Grant would love this, but Grant's like, this isn't supposed to be. And you position them in all these places. It's even pointed out in the movie, like, you know, I brought you guys to support my park, and the only one that's supporting me is the blood-sucking lawyer. Little lines, so many great lines in this movie. I don't even have one in my notes, great lines, but let's add it right now. So many great quotable lines in this movie. But all that works because the dialogue's good, because the characters are amazing, and you want to see them interact and discuss all the possibilities of all this. But we're also talking about Jurassic Park. And this is one of the most exciting movies ever made. Some of that goes back to because it brings dinosaurs to life so well. And some of that's just because Jurassic Park is directed by Steven Spielberg, who's the master of thrills. So one of the final reasons this one is great is because it has so many great, thrilling, exciting sequences. And what this movie does is once things start going bad, it just stacks the bad on top of each other. It just kind of keeps doing this. So every level of it gets worse and worse and worse and worse as you go along, as you realize, okay, the phone, or like the cars are stopped. That's not good. The phones are out, so we can't communicate with them. The fences are down, so the dinosaurs can get out. And you start kind of going through these pieces where like, uh-oh, what? If someone is stranded in a dinosaur park and the fences are down, how do you go get them? Where's anything safe in the universe if that's where they're at? And so it's very thrilling and exciting because that's the way things kind of play out. But you even look at the way the sequence plays out with the dinosaur sequence, where the kids are in one with the lawyer, and then all the people that act like grown-ups are in the other one. Dinosaur shows up, lawyer runs out. So this is an exciting setup right here. Kids are alone, terrified, and they're doing every stupid thing that you could do. And then you have everyone that can get them to do smart things in the other vehicle with no way to communicate with them. So the smart people, adult people over here that know things are watching them. Like, what can we do? To help them, I have to run out and stare down a T-Rex. Like, that's not good. And so then eventually Grant goes, I need to go rescue them. And so he knows a little bit about the pseudo-dinosaur science, because the idea about them not being able to see things moving, probably not the best universally accepted science, but it works for the movie, which makes for some stuff in the movie. So he understands I can move and get their attention, throw the flare, stop moving, and it'll run over there. But he doesn't say this to Ian Malcolm, which even in the context, there's no reason that he would assume Ian Malcolm would also want to run out and stare down a T-Rex with him. But Ian Malcolm is a good guy. Ian Malcolm's going to try and do the right thing. Ian Malcolm himself actually does love kids. So he's trying to do the right thing, doesn't know better, and kind of gets attacked by a T-Rex in the process. So the process kind of plays out where they're trying to get the kids out of the car. One of them stuck seatbelts and things like that. And so the way it plays out is that the car starts getting put, or they're trying to like escape and start trying to climb down the well. Well, Timmy's still in the car, and the T-Rex starts pushing the car over the edge. This is like very cinematic. Like all these horrible things are happening. They're trying to climb down, and at this moment, the T-Rex goes, oh, look, there's a hole right there. That's also why they decided to climb down there. T-Rex is going to push the car over. Well, they're right underneath it. So there's one more added layer of tension. The car gets pushed over, gets caught in the tree, which is both good because it means Timmy didn't fall to his death, but it also means we got to get Timmy out of the tree. So puts her inside the wells, and, he left us. He goes, but that's not what I'm going to do. Another great line. Climbs up, into the tree to go rescue him. So what happens? As he's pulling him out, the steering wheel gets pulled just a little bit and it starts to fall down. Thrilling, exciting, every detail along the way. There's some new thing that goes wrong to cause problems for them. I'm not going to go through all the rest of the movie because the whole movie's like this, but just even one final one to talk about is even the way it maps out the sequence where they're trying to climb over the fence while they're trying to turn the fences back on. They have to turn the fences back on to get any level of control, to have any semblance of turning locks and everything. They have to turn the power back on. And they line these two things up in a way that this sequence, I'll talk about it a little bit. This sequence isn't really in the book, the way it plays out like this. And it's very cinematic because in a movie with editing, you can just cut back and forth visually very quickly and show this stack of switches. And you can see it, and it gives you a timer. He's got 7 switches. It takes 2 seconds per switch. We've got less than 20 seconds, and that kid is still up there, and you're watching it watching it play out and cut back and forth as he's not jumping. And that's so cinematic, and it creates a tension inside of you. You feel the conflict, the danger, the sense of urgency moving forward. That's master filmmaking. That's Steven Spielberg. We get to the final sequence. It's just amazing closing sequence with the velociraptors running around outside of it. Another wonderfully crafted one is the kids are crawling around inside of the kitchen with velociraptors running around, and they're just trying to find every little way to sneak around them. And this is the one place the velociraptors can't really outrun them because their claws scratch a little bit on the floor, but they're still fast, they're still quick, they can still jump. So it's just kind of terrifying as you go through this whole thing. And they're developed to be smart, so they start to be able to open doors. All of it as soon as things go crazy to the very end, finding every little way to add fear, terror, danger. That's what, this one of the most thrilling, exciting movies ever because you believe there's real dinosaurs there that are danger, and because you have a master filmmaker like Steven Spielberg kind of bringing it all together. And even when there's not dinosaurs eating people, it's very thrilling, very exciting because the ideas in it as they sit and talk about them, all excellent. So great movie. From there, we'll move on to the bad. I have a few things. When it comes to things that actually bother me about this movie, none of these actually bother me. They're just things that are worth noting that it's not perfect. No film is perfect. So let's point a few things out. First one, in the dinosaur sequence, as my wife and I were watching this, it just popped out real obvious to both of us because now I watch things much more critically and notice a little bit of things like this. There's some actual technical continuity errors in the sequence, as there's a big deal about the door on the kids' car being open, and they need to close it because they're scared of the dinosaurs, and they keep cutting back and forth between the adults watching, and you can see the door open and close between cuts of when they're in the vehicle and it's open, and then the adults and it's closed. And it's like, that was actually a pretty big little continuity error that they left in the movie right there. Second one, the first 10 minutes is a little bit jumping. But it's trying to set up all the characters' scenarios in it, and we'll get to this once again a little bit. The book takes an enormous amount of time to set all these pieces up and spend time with everyone, and the movie does it in 10 minutes. And so then it kicks off and velociraptors eat people, and then we go out and we see a guy digging up the amber, establishing the amber and some of the ideas of it, and lawyers are angry about things. Then we see Nedry and Dodgson meeting up to understand that some stuff's going on where they're trying to meet people, or they're trying to steal some stuff, and he's going to do some bad stuff. And then we cut over here and we meet our dinosaur experts. It's hopping around a little bit as you kind of go through the movie, and or as you kick off the movie, as you're trying to get to Jurassic Park as quickly as you can. And I don't know if you could have done it better, but it's not the most smooth way to do what they're trying to do. And the third thing that I'd take, there's a bit of an issue with it. Very end of the movie, they're trying to escape. They've almost made it. They're making through the lobby of the main center there, and velociraptors surround them. So they're trapped. They're probably about to die. They're inside of a building. The movie has well established up to this point in time that when a T-Rex is coming, it shakes the earth. You can hear the pounding from far away. They freak going, "Rah!" That's not the sound they make. They, "Rah!" I can't do it. I'm sorry. And it shakes water cups, all sorts of things like this. And then suddenly in this sequence, as we're surrounded by velociraptors and it's cutting to their faces, like, what are we going to do? Velociraptors about to jump at them. And then the movie cuts T-Rex walks up and starts eating velociraptors, and T-Rex has come to save the day. Our characters run out. They're battle a little bit with the T-Rex and the velociraptors. The banner falls down. Great iconic shot as it roars one final time as they prepare to leave Jurassic Park. And it's one of those ones where you go, how did the T-Rex get inside the building with no one noticing that the T-Rex was walking in? Why is everything not shaking? Why is it not... Where's this opening that's 3 stories tall? I mean, that it just can walk in, right? There's a few little things in that makes for a great moment in the movie. I know why they did it, but it's a bit of a trope to do this. Everything's about to fall apart, and then, whoop, out of nowhere, someone comes to save the day. I mean, it's even kind of in the final little sequence of Star Wars A New Hope that Han Solo just kind of shows up. No one messaged him. No one said anything. Hey, Han Solo's on the way. It's a nice little way to have that surprise. We're going to save the day at the last moment. It's a little bit of cheating in your cinema. Anyway, for me, I'm having a little bit fun talking about that no movie's perfect. To me, this movie basically is perfect for people ask me all the time, what are those movies that you give perfect scores to? This is one of them. I would give this an A plus 10. I think it's an excellently made movie on every level that matters, every level that if I want characters, and I didn't even mention Samuel Jackson in, there's all these other characters in it. I didn't mention the animal handler guy. I'm blanking on his name at this particular moment. Great little actor in there with such personality that kind of wants to put the velociraptors down. He's hunting us. Right? So many great other characters in the movie and little moments that you could talk about. This is a movie I watch every single year, sometimes multiple times per year. It's fun, it's exciting, it elicits all the emotions it's supposed to elicit out of me. This is an A+, very well made, 10, very entertaining for me. From there, let's start talking about the differences between the book and the movie. And if you haven't read the book and you're planning on doing it, maybe you want to skip this, but I'm not going to go too specifically into detail on all of it because I don't want to go on forever and ever and ever, but I'll talk real quick about it. The first 60% of the book is actually pretty close to the movie. You can see equivalents. There's a little bit more of everything. So the beginning of the movie kicks off with just this one incident where velociraptors eat someone, so then the lawyers get involved, so then they go and get some of these people and bring them to Jurassic Park to sign off on it. In the book, there's 3 different things that are happening where you have the incident that's perhaps with the velociraptors, but that's not even, it's told from the perspective of someone is taken to a hospital. Then you have an incident that's the same as what's at the opening scene of Lost World, where some people go to an island and their child walks off and these little guppies kind of attack her. That's in the original Jurassic Park book. So that happens at the beginning. And then there's a bunch of stories circulating about dinosaurs, not dinosaurs, of babies being killed or on the areas around where Jurassic Park is at. So there's 3 different things kind of happening. And there's speculation, are dinosaurs getting off the island? How would dinosaurs be getting off the island? And there's remains of weird lizard creatures being found on other islands. And so there's a bunch of other things that kind of start off the book that aren't in the movie at all. It's much more streamlined, simplified. Let's get to Jurassic Park as quickly as we can, which you want to do in a movie. And then from there, it plays out fairly similar there's a sequence with Grant and he's looking some things up. They find a T-Rex, or not a T-Rex, but a velociraptor. It's all pretty similar, slightly different. Different people, a person approaches him and then Hammond calls him, but it's very similar. One detail that's a little bit different is that Grant and Ian Malcolm were actually consultants on Jurassic Park about 5 years earlier inside the book, where they didn't know it was Jurassic Park. They didn't know the details. They were making dinosaurs, but they were asked questions and paid a chunk of money for what they were doing. Likewise, one of the details about that why Hammond is so fixated with Grant is because Grant does his excavations up north, and there's some elements to where when they find the bones, they're ground up, and the ones that are more north are preserved a little bit better, have more dinosaur DNA. And so there's all these little details that kind of add to kind of the scheming of things a little bit more, kind of fill details out As you get to the island, it's sequences play out a little bit differently. It's as they're flying in, they see dinosaurs for the first time, but it's the same basic ideas they go around. Some characters are a little bit different. Hammond is not likable or relatable at all. He's kind of like a charming old man that's clueless, that's so optimistic that he thinks like kind of a Willy Wonka sort of factor going on. And he just can't see anything going wrong with all this. I've made dinosaurs. It's amazing. It'll be better next time. In the book, though, he doesn't have nearly the he's much more a shrewd businessman. He's blaming other people. So there's a little bit of lines of dialogue where he's like in the movie where he's like, this was a mistake. Hiring Nedry was a mistake. That's a lot more expanded in the book to where he's just blaming everyone else and he's blaming Samuel L. Jackson. And this guy didn't do a good enough job. He doesn't understand. This is my fault. Like this is not a good idea. I was cheating to make this happen. And so then you go to, and Grant actually loves kids in the book. So that's a little different. And the kids in the book, the girl is actually younger. She's only like 7 years old. She's not a computer hacker or anything like that. She's really annoying in the book. Plays out fairly similar until the dinosaur sequence happens. And then the lawyer doesn't die. He makes it actually makes it to the end. And whenever they're traveling through Jurassic Park, it's all different. Instead of going by land, they go by a river. And they go through a river and it takes you into like the pterodactyl arena thing that's in Jurassic Park 3. And it's very different the way that plays out. And command center stuff has similar elements of we need to go to turn the power back on, but it plays out very different. It's a lot more complex in it. Like they get the power to turn back on, but it's on auxiliary power. And so there's a segment in the book where they think they've gotten control of Jurassic Park for a while. And the idea of control and, hey, we've got control of this. We're going to be back online very shortly. And Ian Malcolm's like talking about chaos theory and like, no, bad things happen. And he keeps having all these ramblings about chaos theory and how you don't have control and it's only going to get worse. And so then the auxiliary power, they don't know it's on auxiliary power. They think it's on main power. So after 3 hours of them having control, they lose control again. And they realize, oh no, we're in bad shape. One more thing that's a big difference inside the book is earlier in the story when they first go on the tour, while they're on the tour, they see a ship leaving Jurassic Park and they're looking with their binoculars and they see that there's velociraptors, like young velociraptors on the back of it that are heading to the mainland. But the phones are out. That's one of the first things that goes bad on the island is the phones go out. And so they see velociraptors going to the mainland. They have a distinct time. They're going to get back to the mainland at 8 in the morning or something like that. And so then as Jurassic Park starts to fall apart, one of the reasons they have to get back to command center and they have to get the phones back on is so that they can say there are dinosaurs on that ship that's going to the mainland and velociraptors will get loose on the mainland as soon as that happens. And so it adds a little ticking clock element that's not in the movie at all in that fashion. And so as kind of you moved towards the end of the there's also this element. So the idea that dinosaurs getting off the island is a big thing in the book. Like I mentioned at the beginning, a child is attacked by guppies. The babies are being eaten. And so the question is, are dinosaurs getting off the island? And the control people keep saying, no, we're in control of this. We've got a head count. Well, it turns out their head count is wrong because they never thought about the idea that the dinosaurs could be breeding themselves, which they are. And they never thought about the fact that the dinosaurs will find a way to survive. And so there's a lot of all these themes of control kind of running throughout. So as you run towards the end of the movie or book, velociraptors start to attack the command center, and so they're kind of getting in trouble, and Grant is actually the one that goes to turn the main power back on in the book. And people start getting eaten, more people kind of get eaten, different set of people get eaten, different set of people survive. And as they get rescued at the end of it, there's this one final little epilogue thing in where Grant goes out to find the velociraptor nest, so that they can do a head count of the number of velociraptors before they leave the island. So they go into the velociraptor nest, count the number of eggs, and then they take off on a helicopter to leave, and then the Costa Rican military comes in and napalms the entire island. So very different ending. And Hammond gets eaten by guppies. Like he's just walking around thinking he's safe, and then these small things start to come after him, and he's like these just stupid things, and they eat him alive on the island. And the end of the book implies that Ian Malcolm dies from his injuries. Like it heavily implies Ian Malcolm dies from his injuries, even though the second book is about him. So not to spoil too much, but Lost World, the book, is also about Ian Malcolm, so probably not dead. So there's some of the big differences. Like Ian Malcolm's dialogue, all the crazy ramblings in the first half of the movie Jurassic Park are actually in the second half of the book, as he's like on morphine and stuff and just rambling about commercialism and just stamped it. You built on what they did and you didn't care. All of that is in the... It's in the movie in different places. So a lot of stuff lines up, but it all plays out differently. It's a great little read. Very exciting change of pace because it's a story just as good as the movie, but literary, so it tells things differently, more details, a great counterpiece to the film itself if you love the movie. Anyway, there you have it. There's kind of my take on Jurassic Park, talking through the movie, talking through the book a little bit. How about you? Have you read the book? Have you seen the movie? What did you think about the book? What did you think about the movie? How do you think about the two compare? Which one's better? All that fun stuff. Let's have a nice, lively discussion about it. And if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, ranking videos, but the key thing is I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So join me down in the comment section. Let's have a lively discussion talking about this set of movies. I love dinosaurs eating people. That's amazing. And as always, thank you for watching.